Hello and welcome to HIP's live stream. This is the January 2021 episode. I'm Jared.
Hi, I'm Ming.
I'm Carrie the Metal Geek.
And my name is Sandy Bledsoe.
Sandy, we're extremely happy to have you on for the first episode of 2021. I think it's going to be a great year.
Thank you. I know it can't get much worse than the last one, so we'll see what happens.
But cannot. You're right.
Doesn't it feel so good to say 2021?
I feel old. I'll be 38 this year, so I'm.
Oh,
yeah,
my friend.
Yeah, you guys saw that thing where when they card people now, they just look for the one in your license, and if they see a one in your birthday, they're like, okay, you're good. Like that's how old we are. That's how old.
Oh
we are.
wow,
God.
that hurts my heart a little bit.
It's pretty bad.
You know, I
Thank
was
you for
thinking a
having
little
us
bit
on.
earlier. Yeah, not a problem. I was thinking a little bit earlier. I did see that some of the songs from 2001 are turning 20 years old today. And I'm like, man, I don't think of 2001 being 20 years ago.
I was living in my first apartment. Yeah, right. That was my first apartment. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I graduated 2001, so Sandy,
Yeah.
you're about the same age as I am. I know that. But yeah, it just seems
Yeah, I'm not going
2021 is going to be a good year, hopefully. Let's cross our fingers, knock on some wood. Sandy, why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and who you are, what you do with Coral Sword, and introduce Coral Sword as a whole in general as well.
So I'm really bad at talking about myself. I'm going to give this a shot. I am the general manager and the managing partner of Coral Sword. I basically am responsible for everything from operating the cafe to operating our streaming booth here, which I can. I basically am responsible for the operations of the shop. I have a couple of business partners, Ming Chen being one of them. Thank you for being here, Ming. We are a board game cafe in Houston, Texas. Coffee, tea, beer, wine, a little bit of food. And we also have this sort of like multimedia recording studio that we use for Twitch streaming and for podcast recording. It's available for rental. And for, personal private clients as well as commercial. I hope that kind of, I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I wear a size 9.5 shoe. I just learned the other day that I have a type of heterochromia. I just got LASIK a couple weeks back, and which is an amazing process. But I learned that there are two types of heterochromia. We're getting off topic, but there's one where your eyes are completely different colors, and then there's one where the inner part of your eye is different from the outer part of your iris. And I learned that I have that one. And
very interesting.
37 years old, I never knew that the inner part of my iris is different color from the outer one. I always just thought I had a hazel eyes. But so anyway, that's me.
Very interesting. So
we're getting off topic, but
yeah, I mean a little bit off topic, but we asked you about yourself, so
sure.
I guess the one icebreaker question is, what color is your toothbrush? Do we still do that in 2021?
I look at it every day, and I cannot tell you what color it is.
Well, we know the color of his eyes now, so we're good there.
What's that?
We know the color of your eyes now, so we're good there.
Yeah, I think it's blue.
Whatever it is, the ladies love it. So, Sandy's far too modest. Sandy's far too modest. Sandy used to operate one of the best coffee shops in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He, I think one day he just decided to take off on a train to Seattle to learn about coffee, just without any planning or any money or like any possessions. He was like a coffee monk. He was like a kung fu like journey. But I think I met Sandy. Yeah, I think I met Sandy like 5-6 years ago at a pho place. I think it was a pho ben, and we hit it off. We hit it off immediately.
Yeah.
I'm also from Ann Arbor, so that didn't hurt either. But I think great things.
You were born in Ann Arbor, right? You grew up, or you spent a number of years there. And
I did. I ended up moving to Ann Arbor before my junior year of high school, and I ended up staying there for college. And Ann Arbor is very influential. I learned a lot of. I learned to fall in love with technology there, big time, and and I think it had a lot to do with to why I love doing this and why I love podcasting. So, and I think that rubbed off on you as well. I mean, you're sitting in a pretty badass streaming booth.
I had nothing to do with it. This was all Lexi, but yeah, it's great. It's fun to play with.
So, what part of the hand is Ann Arbor?
It is right here, the meaty part, right
There
about
you go.
here.
That's right, the meaty part.
The meaty part right here, the good meaty part.
It's about 30 minutes from Detroit.
Okay, I've been to Lansing and I've been to Detroit.
Lansing's a cool town. Lansing, I didn't like Lansing when I was younger, but actually the last couple of times that I visited, it's pretty cool now. So, but as being from Ann Arbor, I have to say that, go blue and down with Michigan State and all that. So,
yeah. Real quick, Ann Arbor, very progressive town. The last time I went back, they had a little podcast studio at the library, at the public library, and it looked pretty legit. I don't know if they rented it out to everybody per se, but
yeah, you can check it out. It's the Ann Arbor District Library is. I don't have any data about this. I don't have any metric for how cool it is. But it is the Ann Arbor District Library is amazing. The librarians are amazing, and I remember having this conversation once about why they felt like they had to let a homeless person look at pornography on the computer, and she was like, freedom of information. I'm not here to tell people that, as long as, and I was like, what are you no, what, you just, but she was like, he's a person using a computer and he's doing research for whatever. I'm not here to, and it was really interesting. I just derailed this podcast. I'm sorry.
You gotta look at it somewhere, I guess, right?
But she was like, freedom of information. And the librarian, I was like, you're the coolest person I've ever met. So
yeah, that would open some floodgates, I imagine, literally. But you can it's so crazy. You can go and rent lighting and film equipment at the library. It's
really?
It's insane.
Amazing.
Yeah,
this is 13, right? Sorry. What's the audience rating here? I'm sorry for bringing that up. But
no, it's free forum, freedom of information.
Great.
Sandy.
Great. That's right.
Sorry.
So I think that some of the libraries are now doing podcast studios for rent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of them have popped up.
Podcast has become such a known thing. I was watching Wheel of Fortune last night, and it was one of the questions. I was like, "That's amazing."
Yeah, I think the answer was podcast host, right?
Podcast host. Yeah, I'm like
podcast host.
I didn't get it at first either. I'm like, what?
You were like Rod Rast boast.
It was too obvious to me. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not saying that, are they? But.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen WandaVision yet,
Yes.
but I just posted on Facebook. I mean, no spoilers, but the closing shot, you see this thing on the table, and I'm like, is that a Rodecaster Pro? And it totally was. And I'm like, wow, okay, the Marvel Universe, the organization Sword has time to podcast in between tracking sentient beings, I guess. So I thought that was really cool.
That's probably what they're podcasting about.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe what just happened.
So I thought it was very interesting. I did have to rewind it and make sure that I saw what I thought I did. So.
Yeah, and I think Rode put up a post like, "Hey, did you see something familiar?" And they zoomed in on the setup screen, and it was on the date set screen where you set the date and time. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Okay,
that's cute.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Now I do wonder which sound cues they have on that.
on the soundboard.
Yeah,
that's a great question. We're gonna have to ask Nick Fury, I guess, how they set that up.
I can call him. You want me to call him?
Yes,
Samuel
please.
Jackson.
Yeah.
You pull out the little Captain Marvel pager.
There's something about your setup that makes me feel like you are on the sidelines of a football game.
Oh, with the headphones.
Yeah.
And and the microphone. Yeah.
Back to you in the studio, Ken.
Yeah.
But
he's out on the field, man.
Are you cold? It looks like you're freezing.
No, I'm inside. So for anybody wondering where I'm at, so this is a place called Bellworks. It is what they call Metro Burp. So it's a combination of technology, offices, restaurants, events. And we just recently opened up a podcast studio here. And the reason why I'm not in that studio is because I got kicked out because there's a podcast going on and renting it out right now. So, business first. But I
Most
have the
definitely.
freedom to come out to the atrium where there's great Wi-Fi and still be on with you guys.
It looks
The
beautiful.
only one of us with people walking behind them. So we just got to be careful what they're doing.
Yeah, I have a whole audience of millions right in front of me. So
At least it's not in a library, right?
at least not in the library. Yeah, right.
The something like you mentioned, the having somebody rent the booth reminded me of this Paul Saginaw, the owner of Zingerman's Deli in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which we have had lunch at. He said to me once that when you get more successful, you don't get rid of problems, you just get better problems. And having your podcast rented the evening that you're trying to do a podcast is a great problem to have. And that's like definitely that's a successful problem, right? So
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that just opened the door. Like I have to go podcast at Zingerman's now, which is like one of the best delis in the world, for sure.
not a sponsored content.
Yeah, not a sponsor, but definitely an influence. And I think that plays definitely an influence on why we do what we do, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. The huge influence on me as a business person, a huge influence.
So I got a question, Sandy. So let's talk about Coral Sword. If people are not from Houston or they don't know about it, explain what the location is and what you do there.
Yeah. So the sort of like the main core competence of the business is a coffee shop. And there are plenty of people who come to Coral Sword, and like we're located not too far from University of Houston. I almost said U of H, but I realized that people not from Houston might not know what that means. But University of Houston, just down the road. And look at that, we got the address and everything. Cool.
Technology.
So then, so the sort of core competence as a coffee shop. Obviously, our dining room is closed right now because of COVID. We sort of voluntarily closed our dining room. So things look a little bit different. We closed a little bit earlier than we used to as well. We used to be open to midnight every night, but now we're closing at 9:00. But coffee, tea, beer, wine, a little bit of food. We also have a board game selection for sale. We host a number of weekly events. Obviously, also these things are kind of limited right now because of COVID. We used to do several Magic the Gathering events every week. Free drop-in Dungeons and Dragons. Come and learn how to play for absolute know nothing. Just drop by and we'll teach you everything you need to know. As well as we have a huge selection of board games that people can come by and grab off the shelf and learn how to play.
It's a perfect geek hangout place, man. Just come there, grab a coffee or some food, and play some games. It's really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. And we also have this content studio as well that's available for rental. So, but yeah, we're it's kind of what's that expression? Kind of like jack of all trades, but I guess sort of like jack of all geek things. But but yeah, it's been it's actually going to be 3 years. February 2nd. So coming up. So
can't believe it. I was there opening weekend too.
Oh, thank you so much.
I remember that was fun.
About that was a wild weekend. I remember absolutely nothing. It was just like a blur just went by.
I actually filmed a bunch of B-roll that weekend too. It never got used.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember unlocking the door and I just remember being flooded with people and remember thinking, this is how I die. And then I woke up like a week later, like, did that really happen?
But that's a good opening, right?
Right.
And again, it's a successful problem, right? I mean, it's a great problem to have. But there was those couple of days were quite busy when we first opened, and it's a great problem to have. It just was it was wild, and we've learned so much over the years, and it's been an excellent journey, to quote the film Bill and Ted, right? So
better than a bogus journey.
Excellent adventure. Oh my gosh, I like fudged them into one. But.
I do remember you guys did have a bunch of trades and graphic novels and things like that.
Yep. Yeah, and that is something that we've kind of pivoted away from a little bit. Originally, the idea was coffee, comics, and games. Mm-hmm. And not too long before we opened, we kind of pivoted. We just said, let's just focus more on the games, and we kind of spun the comics off a little bit. And over time, the comic selection that we had available for people to read kind of was it's the sort of tragedy of the commons, where sometimes things just kind of fall apart or they get bent up, and we said, you know what, this is not working. So
Gotcha.
but that's definitely something that I look forward to adding back in at some point. We're not exactly sure how, but it's definitely something that I used to work at a not to talk about Ann Arbor again, but there's a comic shop in Michigan called Vault of Midnight. They have 3 locations now: Ann Arbor, Detroit, and Grand Rapids. And they're an amazing retailer. And that is kind of where I'm trying to do the math, but it's 13, 14 years ago now I worked there. And that's where I learned everything about comics and board games and kind of where I came up and cut my teeth in in that world. And very, very grateful for them as a business, and amazing mentors and just people in general. So very grateful for them.
Oh yeah, don't feel bad for giving them a mention. They were a huge influence in my life. This comic book shop, had they not existed, I probably wouldn't have wound up like on a comic book based TV show. Like I shudder to imagine what my life would be like had I not. It was literally started by 2 guys who rented the bottom floor of a house in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
And like they didn't even sell like Marvel and DC comic books. Like they were so low on the totem pole they couldn't even get them. But I remember walking in, I was like, "Hey man, where's your Batman and Superman?" They're like, "Oh man, we don't have those, but what you should read is this." And they put down like Preacher and Spawn and like the DC Vertigo, like more adult titles. And I'm like, they're like, "You're gonna love this." I'm like, "What is this?" They're like, "Just read it." And it was like more, I was in college, so it was more geared toward, and that's what comics were becoming. They were gearing more toward, I guess not mature readers, such a weird word, but for, not little kids. I was like, "Oh, whoa!" It changed my life. And those guys went from like a little 200 square foot room to like an empire. And along the way, Sandy was the games manager for a long time, and we're still friends with those guys. And to see where those guys wrote, it was very inspirational.
Very cool. So, Sandy, question for you.
That's where I know you from, Ming. You're on a comic book based TV show. That's where I know you from.
Oh yeah. Some people know me from that. Yeah, for sure.
My earliest memory of Ming is not meeting him and having pho in Houston. It's actually watching the episode where he gets a tattoo, and I remember that episode. I remember meeting Ming. Was like, "Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. Like, don't go fangirl on him. Don't go fangirl." So, but yeah,
I very rarely do you get your first tattoo documented like that. So I'm very lucky.
I'm very glad I didn't get mine documented like that.
You saw every cringe and tear in my eye as the needle was digging into my flesh.
Do you have any more?
I do. So I have a second one. I lost a bet to another podcast, and the loser had to get the other's logo tattooed on them. So I got it tattooed as small as possible on my side. And then I have another one. It's on my forearm. It's the flux capacitor from Back to the Future.
I've seen that one.
Cool. Yeah. I think last time we all saw each other, we joked about getting coral sword tattoos after drinking tequila. Yeah, it'll happen. It's a cool logo. It's a great logo.
Yeah, it really is. Sandy has Ming actually got you into podcasting yet?
A little bit. I have been more focused on Twitch streaming and more focused on like some of the video game aspect of this. But yeah, podcasting is definitely something that I have slept on for a number of years, and it has been a grave mistake because there's a lot of amazing content out there, and it's just it's a great deal of fun too. So it's definitely something that I have. At first, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm just not great at talking about myself, and I get really nervous, and so I go into full on panic mode, and then I'm like, nobody's having fun. This isn't fun to watch. I'm never doing this again.
I'm having a blast. I'll tell you.
What's that?
I'm having a blast.
Okay, well that's
great. Don't worry about it, dude. You're good.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I think that's a fear that a lot of people have, and I think that holds a lot of people back, and I think it's very unfounded. I know I love your strong opinions from the many years that I've known you. And not only that, you've been on many adventures that I've seen photos of and maybe read short descriptions of your trips to Japan
It's all
and
Photoshop.
your
It's all
motor
done in the studio.
and it's crazy. Sandy's traveled the country by motorcycle. We all happened to meet up in Atlanta, Georgia, like just by chance one weekend, which was crazy. But these are all podcast subjects for sure.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's easy. You just sit there, and that's like you don't have to do anything. You just
yeah, I'm sure you've stopped in some one horse towns where you stopped into a dive bar and got into adventures or drunken
Yeah.
brawls. Like I don't know, but I
Yeah.
would love to hear about these on a podcast.
Yeah.
If only you had a place that you were sitting in that you could podcast from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I mean, location, right?
right.
Before we move on from more Coral Sword stuff, let's talk about the actual location you're sitting in.
Yeah.
What kind of technology you have available there? I know you do a lot of Twitch streaming.
Yeah. In terms of technology we have, there's 2 Sony PTZ cameras. So we can do all kinds of fun stuff. This is gonna be kind of embarrassing because I'm sure the cafe is really messy. But there's the back door. We can do all kinds of fun stuff like this.
Oh, that's a good shot of the shop.
So wait, so that is not a Logitech C920 camera that you can get at Best Buy.
No, it's
I forget
not.
the exact, but if you're curious about what type they have in the board,
look at that clarity.
Ooh, that's quick. But and the focus, but it's a bit messy right now. But like I mentioned, we're not actually open for dine-in right now, just because of COVID. And I think there's a button that I can press, and this all comes back. It snaps back. But and then we'll zoom back in on me a little bit here. But yeah, and then this is a desktop monitor, so we can put anything up here. We've also got a green screen we can use. And there's the desktop is set up for forecasters and up to 4. So I actually took some of the other mics off just so it looks so empty up here. But and then we're working on, actually, this is just something that Ming and I talked about on the phone earlier today, is we're working on pivoting the booth to another room in the building. We used to think originally the focus was going to be creating a lot of Twitch content, creating a lot of our own content and activating the booth. But we've actually seen enough demand for renting the booth that it actually feels kind of awkward to try to rent the booth when there's somebody sitting over there and staring at you while you're like paying to record something. And so we made the decision that we're going to move the booth to this other back room that we've used as a play area in the past. And right now it's just storage during COVID, but we're going to pivot that. And that'll allow like a little more like a sort of private studio. And the hope is to activate it much more as a podcast studio.
That would give more room for an audience and that type of stuff too.
Yeah, and that way it's a bit more private. And I don't know how much background noise has been picked up this evening, but we're open, we're serving people, and so there's been I don't know how much the microphone is picking up, but there's folks coming in and out the door, and so we'd also like to just kind of you guys got a little shot of the back door here, and the hope is to actually turn this into a back patio area and do a little bit more outdoor seating, and so the booth is a limitation there where it prevents people from being able to come in and out, especially if somebody's sitting here recording or broadcasting. So then the thinking is do a little bit of a pivot, and then that way we can hook people up with a really awesome recording studio space and also meet some of the needs of the cafe as well. So so a pretty big change coming up here the next month. So but
yeah, I think both of you have been in that back room. I think we've actually podcasted back there, so
we did.
Got a little taste of the future for sure.
So yeah, I met with the landlord today, and we're doing another meeting later this week about actually finishing that room and making it look really nice and putting more power and stuff back there so that we can do all the fun stuff back there and have it be a little bit more almost like a VIP event space too. We can do things like that. So but yeah, that's
very cool.
Stay tuned, everybody. Did you want to give a plug to the?
First.
Did you want to give a plug to the people who built that booth, because they're really amazing?
Yeah, Go Button Studios. So they so Go Button is Matt Scarpino, who is the brother of Nick Scarpino from Kinda Funny, and really amazing person. It's his company, and they flew out from Los Angeles and they built the studio in 2 days. and they basically like they assembled everything in LA and they shipped everything here, and then just came in and put it all together. It was really amazing. It was really fun to watch and to be a part of that because those people are professionals. So I'm like,
and they did a great job.
They did a great job, yeah. And they, I don't really, I know my way around a cordless drill, but like when it comes to computers, I am absolutely useless. I think I sent you, Jared. I think I sent you a, no, it wasn't you this morning, but it was somebody else that I sent, like just accidentally sent an audio recording to. I like was trying to text back, and I accidentally just ended up recording like me talking to my phone, and like, well, why can't I figure this out?
Oh yeah, I think that might have been me.
Probably. Yeah.
I got a 0-second audio message from you earlier.
Was,
so,
yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm still learning how to use an iPhone. So when it comes to computers, I am just absolutely useless.
Yeah, I for anybody interested, if you go on YouTube and search Go Button Studios, there's a short video about how they built the Coral Sword Studio. It's a little short, like 4-minute documentary format, kind of behind the scenes look, and then you can see all their other work, which is pretty insane. And like what they build, like these are dream studios for podcasters and content creators. Everything from that giant TV behind Sandy to like full LED walls.
Mm-hmm.
That you can change to anything, and it's something that I'm aspiring to for sure. Like and the LED walls, there's smaller versions of what they use to shoot the Mandalorian. If you've seen that clip floating around the internet, instead of flying people out to deserts and stuff, they were able to create it on a huge LED wall, and which made it like which allowed them to shoot everything much quicker and safer.
Yeah, the technology in that show was amazing. It's gonna get rid of green screen one day. I bet.
Yeah,
it's gonna take over.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's once prices come, I think it might be the future for what we do as well.
If you guys ever watched Longmire on Netflix, it's like a Western show.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
I've seen a couple episodes, but not very many.
It was like on A&E originally, and it's this kind of like detective, kind of like but it's, I love it. It's great. But somebody mentioned that Mandalorian is just Longmire in space, and I can't get past that. It's like, it's amazing. It's the exact.
Well, yeah, I mean, Star Wars is a space Western, so
yeah. I mean, they definitely wear their influences on their sleeves, and it's okay.
Yeah, but it's in Longmire comes from a long tradition of these sort of like mystery novels and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I chuckle about it every time I think about it.
Good artist copy, great artist steal, my friends.
Right, yeah.
And so, I guess, Sandy, what specifically do you guys do for podcasters? Are you actively running Twitch streams or podcasts, or do you just say, hey, you rented the space, here's what you get, here's the equipment, and do what you need to?
Yeah, so because of the nature of Twitch, we don't get a lot of demand from people who are interested in streaming because of the nature of Twitch. Like it's really easy to do from home. The interest comes from a lot of folks who are interested in. So one of our big clients is actually is a healthcare data company, and they need to do these presentations that are super professional with with journalists and communicate healthcare information to journalists. And they want this studio where they can pull up information behind it, and so they can point at the map and say, this is what we're seeing, an increase in COVID cases or what have you. And so for podcasters specifically, honestly, not a lot. And it's something that I'm hoping to increase this year. It's definitely something that a community that we could be more supportive of. And because it's something it's growing and growing and growing. And I think there's a huge community out there, and it seems like it's only getting richer and richer. And I'm ashamed to say that it's not something that we've really tapped into or really supported in a way that feels meaningful to me, at least.
We can talk offline. I have some ideas too that we could partner with. That'd be great.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to exact my influence all the way from here, from New Jersey. And yeah, I mean, from a rental point of view, I mean, even around here, I think we're about 2.5 weeks into the year. It's been pretty nuts. I think I looked on the calendar tomorrow. I think we have 10 podcasts coming in, and
that's amazing.
Nice.
I didn't even realize it until I looked. I was like, crap, it's gonna be a busy day tomorrow. But I know that I'm not even I'm not in the fourth largest city in America. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Houston, the Houston market is definitely
Yeah, you
a great
need a
one.
satellite. You need a satellite center here for sure.
Yeah, I working on it. We're working on it for sure. But I love that, they're guys like, there's hips,
Mhm.
to encourage all of this. And I mean, I think it all started from when I met Carrie, almost 7 years ago, and I saw the podcasting community down there, and it was not only inspirational, but it was very eye opening as well. I was like, wow, there are people who love doing what I do, and are doing it as passionately and as prolifically as we are. And it just really made me ensure, like, well, I'm on the right path here. I'm doing the right thing, and to see it at a Comic-Con, that was really awesome. I remember going back here, and I'm like, you'll never believe what, Comic-Con is an awesome convention, but you'll never believe what happened there, and all these panels I was on, and these dudes that I met, and guys and male and female podcasters. Like, I was frothing at the mouth. I'm still frothing at the mouth. So, but safely.
I appreciate that. You people say I'm usually a bad influence, but I'll take the other way too.
Speaking of, I mean, Comic Palooza is going to be coming up in May, so really looking forward to that. Hopefully, obviously it got canceled last year, which is a huge bummer. But
all I can say is
looking
more
forward
information
to
is
it.
coming.
Awesome, looking forward to it.
Ming, you're going to be here for it?
I haven't missed. I mean, last year I was forced to miss it, but it is my goal to never miss a Comic-Palooza ever again. So I'll be 99, like Betty White, and I'll still be rocking a mic and cracking jokes, and hopefully entertaining people.
Yeah, I got some ideas for you already.
I mean, it's fun seeing Ming over on the floor of Comic Palooza, just running around, just going everywhere.
Yeah, I don't stop. I don't sleep, and they serve liquor there. So so yeah,
Those karaoke events are fun.
Yeah, and there's what started as one night of karaoke has expanded to two, my friends. So yeah, don't miss that. Yeah, but I think the last time I was there, not only were there podcasting, I mean, there was a podcast. I think there was a podcasting for filmmakers panel that got assembled, and that I joined in on, and I was like, that's how specific it gets down there. So, it's thanks to Carrie.
To steal a term from Disney, it's edutainment. We try to entertain and be educational at the same time.
For sure, there's definitely a lot of panels that are good for podcasters. I know, Ming, you and I were on a panel, I guess 2 years ago at this point, with doing podcasting networks.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the one thing I took out of that, I think there's a kid, maybe he was about 16 or 17 or 18. He stood up, and I'm like, hey, what's your question? He was like, hey, I want to start a podcast. Is there anywhere in Houston where I can go and start one? And I think at the time no one could answer him. And so the market is out there. I really wanted to be like, oh man, I can you wait like a year? Like I'll come down and open one up for you. Like, you can be the first customer. I'll give you a huge discount. Like, I just want to help you start your podcast. So I thought that was a really cool moment.
Well, I guess there's Coral Sword now. Sandy, do you guys do that? Is that something that you're prepared to do? If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want to start a podcast, can you help me out?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we could also need to get better about too, because I know that Ming, at Shared Universe, you guys actually have a podcasting 101, like a course you can take, and that's something that I think is I don't know how much interest you see for that, but it's something that I definitely see people wanting to have that experience. Maybe they're not ready to start like to commit to like the recording incredibly frequently, but at least they there's like I took a dance class once, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to learn how to dance.
That's one of the panels that we have every year at Comic Palooza is Podcasting 101, because every year there's important people and new people that want to learn about it and get into it. So it's something I don't think will ever go away, because there's always somebody willing to and wanting to learn about it.
And I think in having a structured environment where people can learn, because I am the kind of person that learns by taking something apart and being like, okay, what did I screw up, and then I got to put it back together. And I really learn by doing it, kind of like working with my hands. It's really hard for me to like just read about something or even to just watch a YouTube video. I never read the instructions. I'm always just like, all right, let me like figure this out. Um, and I've had to recognize that not everybody's brain works the way that mine does, and people just actually they're like, I'm really curious and I just want to check this out and I want to learn more about podcasting. And that's definitely a way that we can be more supportive, and a way that we can kind of get people get their foot in the door and say, hey, yeah, like check this out. And I'm always shocked that there are people that would want to listen to me talk about anything. It's just like always that thing that I'm like, what?
Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. And yeah, the class has been pretty popular. We've been most months we've been booking at least one a week, and it was the genesis of the whole studio really. I was going to Comic Cons around the country, and people had heard our podcast and like, hey man, I love your podcast. Like, how do I create my own? And I would be like, oh man, like I can try to teach you in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, but we'd always thought, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a classroom or a studio where we could teach like a 2-hour private class to anybody who wanted to learn podcasting? And that was the genesis of the whole studio. But yeah, just this week I taught 2 classes. They're 2 hours long, so the first hour and 15 minutes is instruction. I basically tell everybody everything I've learned in the last 10 years of doing this, so they don't have to make the same mistakes. And inevitably they come armed with a lot of questions about and it depends on the person. Some people want to learn about the gear, some people want to learn about the process, some people want to learn about the technology. And so I go through all that with them. And then the last half of the class is hands-on. We sit down, we record an episode. For the most part, they come with something that they do want to talk about, or they have an idea for a show, which I help them flesh out. So it's pretty cool. By the time they leave, like they actually have a recorded podcast episode by the time they leave. And it's something I really love doing. And it's not even limited to our studio. I have a lot of friends who teach either in colleges or high schools. And I on occasion when kids were going to a physical school and able to gather, they were like, hey, can you come out on Friday morning for a couple hours and just teach the kids about podcasting? So I would bring portable gear, and same thing, it would be about 2 hours. So I would teach them first hour why podcasting is cool, and the second hour I would set up the mics and rotate them in groups of 4 or 5, and we would just go and record something just so they get a feel of it. And inevitably, I'd be like, all right, I'd sit down like, hey, just tell me your name and tell me what you do when you're not stuck at school. And they would go up. I learned so much about these kids. We'd talk, it would delve mainly into video games and school and whatever sport they were playing. But what I really learned is all these kids are really into cool music because of their parents. They're like, oh yeah, I listen to Journey. Like I thought they all listened to Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber. No, they're into Prince and the Revolution and Janet Jackson and Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, wow, you guys are cool, man. Like where, yeah, I learned a lot about them. And I think every so often I'll get a message on Instagram from one of those kids going, hey, you don't remember me, but you were in my class and I started a podcast because of you. Cool. And I was like, man, that's awesome. So
those are the moments that make everything feel worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
I started my first coffee shop in 2012, I think. And every once in a while, like I would have a customer who wanted me to come serve coffee or to cater their dissertation defense. And that's like, they're like, look, I wrote my dissertation in this coffee shop. I want you to be there. And then like what? And it being I think it's really easy to forget how meaningful people are to like, and it's like we always go to Monahan's whenever we're both in Ann Arbor at the same time, right? And it's like it's a place that's really meaningful to us, and it's something that like I think it's really easy to forget, not to forget, but it's really easy to like just take for granted because it's like it's such a day-to-day thing. But for people, it's like this is my first podcast. This is where I fell in love with coffee. This is where I learned how to appreciate good coffee, or this is where I sat and wrote for 6 months. And it's an amazing feeling to be a part of something like that. So
Yeah, and not to pat ourselves on the back, but I believe Coral Sword is also one of those places for sure.
thank
I
you.
love
Yeah.
even if I'm not there, if I hear a friend is going to Houston, I'm like, well, I mean, you got to go. And
Yeah.
I love hearing the feedback when they come back and they're like, "Oh my god, that was such a great place." Um, yeah, so my
Go ahead.
some of my friends who have been down there, like they've been pulled in on some live streams. Like it's been great how it's just been. I mean, I'll never stop talking about how cool the place is, but I love it's one of those places where you love introducing it to people who have never been there before.
I
Now,
tend to be I see the worm instead of the apple. You know what I mean? I'm the one who, like, when I come in, I see like there's like a crumb on the floor and I'm like, what is this? Why is this here? Um and I think there's something to be said for like those, like when we get that feedback, it's like I'm like, oh, I have to step back and I say, oh, that's right, like this is really special and this is a really amazing thing to be a part of. And um did you ever watch Lost? Do you remember
Oh yeah,
Lost?
oh yeah, yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
and there's like this, like, it's one of the things that I loved about that show was there's an episode where Hurley and Sawyer and I think Jin get the van running up. They get the van up and running again. It's just this episode of them just and it's such a it's like such a one-off episode. But there's this really beautiful sense of like found family and just working on a project together and just doing something for the sake of fun and joy that really like that episode just sticks out to me as a really beautiful, special thing. And I forget that sometimes that I'm a part of something really special and really beautiful because I get so hung up on the like, well, I gotta pay this bill. Like, no.
Oh yeah, I mean you're running the place, and what you've done this last year in the pandemic has been nothing short of amazing.
It's
And
been really cool, but
yeah,
it's
I
been
don't know if we tell you that enough, but for everything from the outdoor patio to the many hours that you probably lost sleep, trying to keep the place going, it's been pretty amazing. So
it's been a tough year, but I think it's also been one of those years that really reaffirms why you do things that you do. And I really applaud all the people who have experienced career changes or have really had to rethink their lives this last year, because I've been very fortunate to have kept my job and I've been very fortunate to feel like to have seen an outpouring of support from our community. And I think some folks really had to pull back and say like, my job is no longer viable. And I really applaud those people for being able to make a career change or to take a new leap. I think that's a really it's been a really difficult year for so many people, and I'm very, very, very grateful for we obviously we haven't experienced growth this year, but we've made some meaningful changes, and we're going to continue to. But it's been a difficult year for everybody. So
yeah, real quick, Jared's phone is overheating, which is where he went. He's like, I don't,
no.
I'm like, is it still like 110 degrees in Houston because his phone is overheating?
Like
But he did, but he did want Carrie to mention a plug.
Yeah, so talking about Coral Sword still, he wanted everybody to know that it is the official hangout for HIPT. Once things get back to normal, people can actually hang out together again. That's where a lot of the events are going to happen.
Yeah.
There he is. He's back.
There he is.
I'm back.
Hey.
Were your ears burning, man?
Yeah, they were. For sure. I was still listening to the stream as you guys were talking, and I was trying to get a ice pack for my phone. So sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. I know I kind of just dropped off there all of a sudden for no reason.
It happens. And I know anytime I'm in Houston, which will hopefully be soon, like I'll be bringing a podcast setup down there and inviting any Houston area podcasters to come down and promote their shows or just come stream or just come podcast and drink amazing coffee or get a Thai iced tea, nitro Thai iced tea, or Eighth Wonder rocket fuel beer or whatever.
Mention pho, Ben. Go get some pho.
Yeah, I guess like the whole origin of this place David Bew, our friend, the kind of the mastermind of the best coffee places, the best hospitality places in Houston. I had actually met him through Instagram. So he runs a coffee shop called Blacksmith. Again, one of the best places in Houston. And Blacksmith was the second place I ever went to when I came to Houston for the first time. And I remember I posted a photo of the coffee, and I think he saw it. He happened to be a friend of another friend, and we just connected that way. And I think, like me and Sandy, David just started taking us to all the great restaurants and bars and coffee places around Houston, and that's how we became friends and bonded. And from my recollection, David was always like, "Hey, I have this crazy idea of combining like gaming, coffee, comics, pop culture, and like opening up some kind of geek cafe." He's like, "If I ever do this, are you in?" I'm like, "I don't even live here, but I'm absolutely. That seems like, imagine a place where a bunch of geeks just imagine like the place that they wanted to hang out in, and that's what Coral Sword became." But I mean, we got to give a big shout out to Hunter Pence and Lexi Pence as well, who really made it happen. But yeah, Sandy, if you want to expound on that, the origin story.
I think I came to Houston for the first time in 2008, 2009. There was a big coffee conference here, and I came to watch a friend of mine compete in the United States Barista Championship. And I wound up meeting David, and David was like, "You know what? Screw your hotel room. Just like come stay at my house, and I've got plenty of room." And then my original plan, I was going to come to Houston, and I was going to go spend a couple days in Austin afterward. I brought my bicycle, and I was going to put my bike together. I put my bike together in the airport, and I was going to ride my bike from Houston to Austin. And David was like, "You're the craziest person I've ever met. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I will drive you." And I was going to spend 3 days in Houston and then a week in Austin. And I wound up having so much fun in Houston that I stayed the whole time in Houston, and I spent like 1 or 2 days in Austin. And I actually biked from Hobby Airport to the convention center, and I was not that I scrapbook a lot, but I save a lot of screenshots of things. I take pictures of things. Like I hate stuff. I hate having like belongings that like take up room, but I take a picture of everything. And I actually still have the little MapQuest directions that I had a photo. I found this photo of the MapQuest directions that I took telephone the whole way. So we're on Telephone Road, and I took a telephone from Hobby Airport to the convention center. And I, at some point, would have biked past the Coral Sword location that was, at the time, it was like a doctor's office or something, I think. But it's kind of a cute thing to think about. So that if anybody's out there listening and thinking about like, man, I want to have a cool coffee shop, or I want to start a podcast, like you are probably walking by or biking by or like these opportunities or these things that are in your future and that you might just not know it yet. And so I would say, just hang into this. Has been a tough year, but I really believe that good things are coming for folks.
So for people that aren't geeks like us, what does the name mean? Where does Coral Sword come from?
Oh, it's from the Final Fantasy video game series. So it's just like a common kind of crap. It's like it's not a cool or like mythical weapon or anything. It's like it's kind of a common kind of crappy weapon. But it was just kind of one of those things. It was just a super cute, like, oh yeah, cool. And there's kind of a backstory. David and I argue about everything. Like we're just like the exact opposite in every possible way, which I think is why we work so well together. But he loves all the Final Fantasies that I hate, and I like all the Final Fantasies that he hates. And so
which ones do you love?
And honestly, like 10 and 10-2 are my favorites, and people give me shit for liking 10-2, but I really enjoyed that one. 7 was the one that really got me hooked. Mm-hmm. But he likes the earlier sort of like 8-bit, like but I used to play a lot of the online Final Fantasy 11, and but yeah, I got into it a bit later, and I'm kind of into the more like, I don't know, I guess more commercial ones, but I guess the also like I thought 10-2 was really amazing, and seeing like a role-playing game like that with just like all female characters, and I thought it was such a cool idea, and I don't know, I love that one. So
do you still play a lot of video games?
I don't actually. I don't even own a television. I'm a crazy person. I don't have a car. I don't have a television. I don't even have internet at home. Ming mentioned this this sort of like austere monk life that I live. It's not inaccurate. But I play a lot of Mario Kart on the Switch, and that's about it. But I've told myself that at some point I'm going to play The Last of Us, which is one that I've been meaning to play, and Monster Hunter is one that I'm looking forward to at some point. So
I'm playing through the sequel to The Last of Us right now. It's really good.
I've heard really great things. I have friends that said that they cried, and that's one that I'm really looking forward to. But I have not had a console since a PlayStation 2, and the shop has a Switch that I take home every once in a while. But other than that, I don't play nearly as many board games as I'd like. Video games. I was even thinking, like, I don't even play as many board games as I would like. I mean, there's so many board games coming out every week that I really struggle to keep on top of that. So video games is just completely off my radar. So
yeah, you bring up a huge point though. That I mean, the whole place is basically built on fandom. Magic the Gathering, like that, basically that basically is one of the biggest reasons the place exists. But Hunter and Lexi are huge gamers. They sucked me into the Among Us craze a couple months ago. And I remember like, hey, we're gonna play on Friday night. Do you want to join in? I'm like, yeah. And I played casually. I'm pretty terrible because I'm a really bad liar. But I remember we started.
That was a lie. Everybody. That was Ming is suspect.
That seems sus.
I remember we started, and then there is no tell. It's just like, I'm one of those guys. I'm like humming, and it's like, all right, he's lying. By the time we finished, I think it was like 7 a.m. Like we'd played for 8 hours, and they kept going. I'm like, I gotta go, but I love you guys, but I can't keep going. And I think they're in San Francisco, so I was like, you guys are on West Coast time. Thank you for inviting me. But I mean the whole gaming geek, it's entirely accurate. We love what we love, and the whole place is kind of built around that.
Remember opening weekend, Hunter was hanging out playing games with people. So yeah, he's totally.
My favorite story about Hunter is the first time that I met him. We were at this guy Mikey. We were at a mutual friend's birthday party, and David invited us both along, and we both knew of each other through David, but like nothing for the Coral Sword had really happened yet. But we're at Mikey's birthday at this dinner. And this guy comes over to. I'm not a big baseball person. I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but I did not know who Hunter was when David first called me and said that Hunter was going to be a business partner with us, and I had to Google him, and I feel a little bit embarrassed about that. But we're at dinner, and this guy comes up to Hunter, and he's like, I'm a huge fan. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just a huge fan. And my kids, I just couldn't go home to my kids knowing that I had seen you at the restaurant and that I hadn't come over and said hi. And Hunter gets up, goes and talks with the guy for probably 10 minutes and just gives him all of his attention. I think that's Hunter is just when it comes to his energy and his time, he is just like a behemoth. I don't know how to explain it. Like I have a quarter of the energy that he has. Like that dude is just like whoever he's talking to, whatever he's doing gets 150% of his attention. And I love that about him. And it's like sitting playing games at the shop and he's like, yeah, come sit down, come play with us. I'll teach you how to play this. It's like, you're 100 pins. He's like, yeah, just play this game with me. And it's amazing to watch because I feel like I have a quarter of that much energy. I'm just like, it's a big one. Cool.
So one of the funny things I think is that I saw a picture. I didn't watch the actual video, but I saw a picture of you and Lexi and Hunter with Steph Curry just randomly one night.
Yeah. So David and I were streaming the boss battle from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And David was like, I want to stream this last boss battle before I do it. And before I beat the game. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like we'll stream it. And so then we got a text. We were sitting in the booth here, and we got a text from Hunter that's like, "Hey, we're finishing dinner with Steph Curry. We're about to come back to the shop and play some Mario Kart. Just go ahead and keep streaming, but like just a heads up, we're on the way." And I think it went from 8 people watching me and David play Zelda to 2,000 people watching us play Mario Kart with Steph Curry. And I actually feel really bad because if you Google Steph Curry Mario Kart, this Kotaku article comes up and it's like Steph Curry is not very good at Mario Kart.
Oh.
And I feel, I mean, like obviously, like, you know, he was a good sport about it, but we absolutely destroyed that guy in Mario Kart. It was just painful. But Hunter won't even play with me anymore. Hunter beat me really badly once, and he danced in my face and was like celebrating in my face, and I was just like, that's it. I spent 3 months getting really good at Mario Kart. I'm such a petty.
So you're basically saying never play Mario Kart against you, right?
I'm very petty. I'm very petty, and I will. I literally spent 3 months of my life just getting really good at Mario Kart just so I could beat Hunter. And he was off, like he was playing baseball. He had a whole season of baseball, and he came back to Houston, and I just destroyed him, and he won't play with me anymore. And
did you see the Mario Kart attraction they're building at Universal Studios Japan?
I haven't seen that. No, I'll have to look that up.
I think you'll dig that.
I just saw somebody built a little like mod sort of lab thing for Mario Kart. You can bike and you can play the game. I saw this on Twitter the other day. I thought it was the cutest thing. But you can like,
I know they have the remote control version of it now.
It's like and then there's the I have resisted the temptation to try to business expense the sort of like augmented reality version of Mario Kart they put out, like you get the RC car and everything. I have so far resisted the temptation, but I feel like that's going to be running around the cafe any minute now.
I think you should. I'll come play it.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I think one thing I didn't realize that, you know, Hunter Pence, professional athlete, competitive gamer. Like that guy will trash talk you into oblivion. If you stink, like he's gonna let you know it. But that makes you better. You know, that sent Sandy in a 3-month like Batman like journey to get better. And even I was like, man, I gotta practice this. Like I thought I was decent. Like I'm garbage. Like I'm terrible at this. But you know, it made us strive to be better for sure.
What's an extra slap in the face is it was the shop's Switch that Sandy probably took home and got better.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I would sit here till like 2 a.m. just like watching YouTube videos. Like, all right, how do I get better at this game, please?
So I have another personal question for you, Sandy, and this goes back into podcasting. Besides Ming's podcast, what podcast do you listen to?
That's a great question. The Short Game is a podcast that my friend Shane, actually one of the customers of Coral Sword, he does a podcast called The Short Game. The tagline is video games that respect your time. And cool. Basically just anything that, cell phone games or stuff that's related to. So we talked a lot about a game called Into the Breach. That was a Steam game that I got really into for a minute. But that's a podcast that I really like. I'm pretty boring when it comes to podcasts, like how stuff works. Like I'm always like, I'm the kind of person I spend a lot of time reading. Yeah, that's it right there. They're great. They're really funny. And I like how stuff works. Like I'm always like, okay, what's up with the post office? What's the history behind the post office? And I sit and read Wikipedia for hours and hours and hours. And so that's one that I don't know. But I was thinking about video games and board games. I don't keep up nearly as much as I would like to. And so I have this like backlog of things that on my little playlist app or podcast app that I'm like this playlist. I go like, oh. So, and I'm trying to think of anything else I've listened to recently, but it's a lot of like self-help stuff and like how to do your taxes better and just really boring, like tedious.
Like we said on this show before, there's a podcast for everything. Anything you want to know about, it's out there for you.
What's that?
There's a podcast for everything. So anything you want to know about, it's there. Now, I want to pose the same question to you. Besides your shows, what do you listen to? What kind of podcasts?
Oh man, I as a small business owner, of course I love how I built this. I was like, whoa, how did Airbnb come to be, or or Uber or Instagram? Like you learn all those stories from the creators. I love that. I've always been a big fan of the ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries. Like even if you don't like sports, the 30 for 30 documentaries are amazing. there's a 30 for 30 podcast where they put just as much energy and research into podcast versions. And with the podcast version is cool. They can go episodic on some seasons. They'll do like a 7-part series on something, or or they'll just do one episode about the origin of the Yankees Sucks T-shirts, which is like super entertaining. It's just a bunch of losers in Boston who had just having to make a shirt that they were able to bootleg and sell and make like $200,000 in cash one season. I was like, wow, what a great story.
Wow.
Things like I love hearing stories. I love the true crime genre when it started, but I think it's kind of gotten a little it's gotten a little ridiculous. And then even wherever I go, I always try to find whoever the local people are podcasting. So there's one called 10 Drink Minimum, podcasting out of Albuquerque. Like these are just guys that I met a couple years ago. Every time I go on there, I hop on with them, and like I'm not even from Albuquerque. They talk about a lot of topical things, but whenever I miss the city of Albuquerque, I'll just tune into them for sure. And
Albuquerque's a cool town. That's a really cool town.
You have to dig a little bit, but once you find the gems, like it's such a great place. And
I was really enamored of my time in Santa Fe and in Albuquerque. So shout out to all the people.
Yeah, for sure. And Sandy told me about a place called Meow Wolf out there, which is the coolest place I've ever seen. But yeah, this is why we're friends, because we like places like Meow Wolf.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a whole there's something kind of like that in Houston. I can't remember the name of it, but I just saw a friend on Instagram who went to this sort of 3D experiential sort of. It doesn't have the cool narrative that Meow Wolf has. You can uncover this cool narrative as you explore Meow Wolf, but which I guess is backed by George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
Which is neat. Wow, but it's an art collective that made this really cool space. So it's like a I can't remember how I pitched it to you, but it's kind of like a
I think you literally said it was the coolest place you've ever been to, and like hearing that from you, I was like, oh, I gotta go. And my flight out from Albuquerque one year got canceled. I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna rent a car and go up there, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm pretty sure we could start a podcast about Meow Wolf theories. And I don't.
There are things that I didn't do there that I've talked to people about. And like, oh yeah, did you see this one thing? I'm like, no. And you didn't get the ticket that prints out at the bottom of the floor, and I'm like, what? Like, it's like, oh yeah, you have to like do this thing with these constellations on the wall, and it's wild. The whole thing is just wild. If you look up Meow Wolf, MEOW, WOLF, it's a huge thing in that area. So,
yeah, I think I've described it as an intergalactic sci-fi acid trip inside of a former bowling alley. Is probably the only way I could describe it.
I just looked up their website. They're opening up a location in Vegas.
And where?
In Las Vegas.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. I used to hate visiting Las Vegas when I was a kid, but I actually have come to like Las Vegas. It's actually cool. But
agreed. When I was a kid, my parents would go there all the time, and there was nothing for a kid to do back then, but now it's just a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't even gamble, so
This is kind of a 180, but there was a connection in my brain. I mean, not 180, but I guess like a right turn. But have you guys watched The Expanse? It's on Amazon Prime.
I have not.
You're like the third person to mention that to me this week.
I just started the 5th season, and it is quite good. It starts out as kind of like a detective noir. The first season is like detective noir, but then it goes full on like hard sci-fi Stargate. It's cool. It's really cool. I am embarrassed. I started the first season years ago, and I didn't really get into it. And then somebody sat me down and was like, you need to watch this show. And I had just finished the 2nd season of Mandalorian, so I was looking for something to watch. And it is very good. But in my brain, there's something that connected with this stuff called, I don't want to spoil anything. You guys should just watch this show. It's really good.
All right, done. I'm putting it in my queue.
We'll get back to you in 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So like 2 weekends.
But it was on the Sci-Fi Network for the first couple of seasons, and it got canceled, and then Amazon picked it up, and it's literally the only Amazon show that I've watched. and I love it. It's incredible.
Interesting. I'll check it out.
It's a super cool like space sci-fi like, and there's lots of cool physics stuff, like the physics of space. Like, what does it look like when somebody dies in space? It's really grim to think about that, but they do that, and they do all the kinds of like, yeah, there's just like lots of cool things about like if you get shot in space, your wound won't drain. The blood from your wound won't drain because there's no gravity. So people like the simplest wound, the simplest like puncture wound could kill you because it's just the blood can't drain. Sorry, this got dark.
Wow.
But just stuff like that. Space sounds terrible. Space sounds really, really, really bad. Don't go. Don't look tricky with this Jeff Bezos rocket stuff. Yeah. Don't go.
But, yeah, don't let SpaceX come and recruit you for just the random stuff.
If Elon Musk offers you a trip, don't take it.
So we could be the first podcasters in space. It could be cool.
That's very true. I would consider that.
Yeah, that's fair. Does the International Space Station, do they do any kind of podcast or anything?
I don't know. I know NASA does.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if they have anything on the space station or not.
I don't know.
I would probably listen to that.
Oh, that for sure. Yeah. I think we need to be the first podcasters in space for sure.
Like, what is it like? Just like the peeing and pooping in space, throwing up in space. Like, what does that look like? If you get nauseous, what does that look like? Just those little things. Like, what is that like? I want to know. I want to ask an astronaut.
I've interviewed an astronaut before.
Probably pretty terrible.
I didn't ask him those hard-hitting questions, though.
Well, I guess bring it back, Carrie. What are you listening to?
Me, I listen to a lot of Disney podcasts actually, because that's what got me started into podcasting.
Okay.
Some video game stuff, but I like learning about celebrities and stuff like that, but I like doing it in a comedic way. So I've been listening to a couple of celebrity run shows. Dax Shepard has a great show called Armchair Expert that I like. And he's a real smart guy, and he actually not only brings on celebrities, but he brings on a lot of people that are experts in their field. And I've been listening to a show called Smart List too that has Will Arnett and Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes, which has been really fun. Each week they bring on a celebrity guest, and only one of the hosts knows who it is until they start the show.
Oh, that's funny.
That's fun.
Very cool. Well, guys, we've been going for over an hour. It doesn't seem like that long.
No.
But yeah, I think that we can probably go ahead and start kind of wrapping it up.
Sure.
Sandy, for sure, thank you so much for taking some time and coming on and showing us the space and talking about Coral Sword. Again, we want to mention that Coral Sword is the official hangout for HIPS, and hopefully 2021 will bring us into the shop.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I just zoomed in way too far on my face while you were talking. I'm sorry. I just got really uncomfortable by how close I got.
It's all right.
Into your eyes so we can see your eyes now.
I wonder if it's that. The lighting's probably not that great, but I don't know how to work your remote control. But,
inverted.
Yep, inverted.
I'll get there someday. Yeah, thank you guys for having us. This has been an honor, and I look forward to seeing you guys in real life once it is safe.
Yes, once it is safe, for sure.
And yeah, maybe we can talk about maybe doing something fun as some kind of around Comic Palooza. Doing some kind of event with you guys at the shop around then, or anytime really. But
yeah, well, you know how to get in touch with us.
Let's talk. Yeah, well, definitely, because let's talk offline about some of that stuff, dude, for sure.
There's so much fun opportunity out there.
I'm going to go ahead and put up your social and your address again once more. Yeah. Social is at Coral Sword. That's pretty much everywhere. Your Twitch stream, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and 1318 Telephone Road. I think it's Suite 3. Is that correct?
Yeah. You can't miss it though. It's the giant colorful building that's next to a barbershop.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
it's literally one of my favorite places in Houston, and I was extremely happy to be able to get in touch with you guys and really make this thing happen between HIPS and Coral Sword.
Yeah, thank you for thinking of us. You ever have a thought and it just disappears and you're like, no,
Always, always.
All the time.
My brain has betrayed me. But Discord. We also have a Discord server. If you go to coralsword.com, there's a little button at the top. You can join our Discord server. And it's a lot of Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. It's also a lot of pictures of people's pets. We have a pets channel. So if you feel like you need to share pictures of your dog or cat, we also have a guy who has tortoises. So if you want to see tortoise content, you can join our Discord.
Awesome.
But it's a great, really fun community, and you can message me there or on any of the socials. If anybody needs to get in touch with me, it's just sandy@coralsword.com. So
awesome.
Thank you guys very
Ming,
much.
Carrie, do you guys have anything that you want to add here at the end?
Oh yeah, go for it. No, go. All right. No, I like I say every episode, I can't wait to get back down there, and bring some more podcasting down to Houston for sure. And I've got my brain's swirling right now, so just stay tuned, everybody. Once things get better, it's going to be pretty crazy. So, but I look forward to seeing you guys and spending large amounts of time down in Houston, one of my favorite cities. But you three guys are part of why I love it so much down there. So, and thanks for doing this for sure.
Yeah, hopefully and we're looking forward for you being back in Houston.
Yeah, I was about to say, hopefully we can do this actually live one day.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Ooh, spicy.
Whenever it's safe, for sure.
Whenever, yeah, exactly right. Thank you, Sandy, for coming on the show and talking about what you guys offer there.
No, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. It makes me, I'm like, oh man, I gotta do this all the time. This is awesome. This is so much fun. So, yeah.
You're getting hooked already, man.
You're getting hooked.
Thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
I forgot I was wearing this.
That, for those who don't know, that is the Coral Sword logo. So, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Obviously, on the bottom of the screen, we have our social, which is at HipsHTX. And you can email us, hipshtx@gmail.com, if you so desire. I guess at the end of the show, I'm just going to say thank you all for tuning in and watching, and definitely check out Coral Sword. If you're not in Houston, still check them out. They, obviously do some good content, and, watch their Twitch channel, do whatever you need to. If you do visit Houston, then definitely go and make a stop. It is well worth it, I promise.
It's not far from the convention center where Comic Palooza is held, so.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you come in for Comic Palooza, definitely at least stop in and check out Coral Sword. So, okay, that's going to do it for us again. Sandy, thank you so much. Coral Sword, thank you so much. Ming, Carrie, thank you guys as well. I'm going to call it at there. So have a good night.
Stay safe. Thank you.